Prince Harry and Meghan wouldn't want us swept off the streets, say Windsor's beggars. One huddles in the doorway of McDonald's. Another has erected a makeshift home of cardboard and sleeping bags in the shadow of Windsor Castle. A third has wrapped herself in blankets against the chill wind, at a bus stop on the town's high street. These are just some of the dozens of homeless people who flock to Windsor town centre every day. Here they rely for food and money on the generosity of the hundreds of tourists and shoppers who pass them on their way to the sights of the royal town. But the presence of so many rough sleepers and beggars has sparked a huge row, after the leader of Windsor and Maidenhead Council, RBW and Dem, called for them to be cleared from the streets in advance of the May wedding of Prince Harry and his fiancée, the American actress Meghan Markle. Writing on Twitter during a family skiing holiday in the United States, Conservative councillor Simon Bradley said they had made a commercial life choice preying on residents and tourists. He even claimed some are marching tourists to cash points to withdraw cash. Mr. Bradley says traders have been driven to despair by the presence of so many rough sleepers outside the town shops, restaurants and cafes. Charities criticized Mr. Bradley, saying the homeless and destitute could not simply be driven off the streets. But one charity worker admitted yesterday that Windsor has a particular problem because, as an affluent tourist destination, it attracts beggars from less well-off towns in the Thames Valley area. Murphy James, of the Windsor Homeless Project, said, "We have about 12 to 15 rough sleepers from Windsor, and on top of that people come from Slough and other towns. They go where the money is, and so would you if you were homeless and desperate." But Mr. James, and the majority of the rough sleepers we found in Windsor yesterday, reject Mr. Bradley's claim that they are professional beggars. "We've got to stop talking about these people in Dickensian terms," said Mr. James. "Rents are rising, housing benefit is capped, property is expensive. All this adds to increasing numbers of homeless people. I don't know any beggars that are professional. If they are driven to the point of asking for money, it is because there is something seriously wrong, whether it's mental health problems, drugs or poverty." With 24-year-old Carla, one led to the other. Thrown out of her parents' house in Windsor after developing a drug addiction, she now calls a bus stop in front of NatWest Bank her home. "I'm off drugs now, but my parents won't take me back," she says. "And being homeless means you can't sign on for benefits, and people won't give you a job because you don't have a permanent address. They also have issues about hygiene and trust if you're on the streets." She is qualified in adult social care and still has ambitions to work in that field. "Getting rid of us in the way the council leader said is ridiculous," she insists. "We'd just move on to another town. Why don't they get together and convert empty buildings into homes instead?" As a young woman, Carla is particularly vulnerable on the streets, with sexual assault an ever-present threat. As we speak, a kindly woman hands her a paper bag containing a fresh croissant. 100 yards further along, James and his friend Tracy have also been the recipients of people's generosity, in their case a packet of M&S Christmas cake squares. A little coffee cup at their feet contains a handful of coins left by sympathetic passers-by. "Some people are horrible. I've been attacked, sexually assaulted, spat on, had my sleeping bag pulled away, you name it," said Tracy, 49. "But others are really nice and will leave us food, or a bit of money. But neither of us beg. We don't approach people for money, and we're definitely not aggressive. I can't believe for a minute that Prince Harry and Meghan would agree with us being driven away. They seem as if they care about people." James, 35, who also comes from Windsor, became homeless a year ago, when his mother was moved into a single flat by the council, leaving him with no room. Tracy, 49, found herself homeless after her partner died of cancer. For months she sofa surfed, sleeping in friends' flats until they ran out of patience 6 months ago. In contrast to claims that Windsor's rough sleepers can make as much as £150 a day by begging, Tracy and James maintain they collect no more than £15 each on a good day. "If I made £150, do you think I'd be sleeping in a shop doorway?" "Don't be daft," said James. "I'd rent a flat." Stuart, 40, whose pitch is in front of Windsor Castle, was offered a bed and breakfast room by Windsor and Maidenhead Council in Southall, 15 miles away. But he says that is too far from his 70-year-old mother's care home in the town. "I'd think it's fair enough of me to turn it down," he said. "But I've been offered nothing else and here I am." Massimo Quagliuzzi, a former priest from Naples, has little sympathy. He says business at his Viva l'Italia restaurant has plummeted as a result of rough sleepers bedding down outside its windows. Nobody wants to look out onto that while they're eating, he said. The council leader is absolutely right. Some are legitimately homeless, but others come from miles around to beg and make good money. They should all be cleared away now. Windsor and Maidenhead Council said Mr. Dudley was out of communication and would not be adding to his earlier statements. Councillor Jessie Gray, of RBW and Dem, said, "Nobody should be homeless in Windsor. We have found suitable and adequate accommodation for any individual to take up, and it's better than being on the streets."